For those that are kind of joining right now, my name is Nickia Delaware, and I'm the Chief Creative Officer. Waiting currently on Lisa Snyder, the co-founder and Chief Innovations Officer, to start off this lovely talk. But while you're here, welcome to the dark side of the womb. This conversation, it's going to be a tough one for sure. It may even be triggering, so I just want to put a trigger warning out there for anyone. We are going to be covering, for the most part, toxic moms, toxic parenting, and also just the ways in which the mother wounds that you may have or may not have, or may not even know that you have, come into play in your life, how you walk through the world with these mother wounds. So yeah, I will kind of just give just a brief background story about myself. I was born and raised in Kansas, a military brat. My father was in the Army for about 15 years. And I'd say around the time I was like 9 or 10, my parents divorced, and my mom raised me for the most part. And my mom had gone through a lot of trauma in her own life. Living in Baltimore, growing up in Baltimore, that she has definitely passed on, and I'm not necessarily sure if she knows that is what has happened, because you do the best with what you've got, essentially. But I do remember, some things being just verbally not okay and sitting with me forever, like things that she doesn't even remember saying or doing at all, that have kind of constructed how I live my life in a way. So this talk, once Lisa gets in here, we're going to be covering pretty much that, mother wounds, how they show up in your life, as well as with Lisa, she's going to be touching on the fact that both of her parents have passed away, and how that's shaped her life, how there are different types of mother loss. Like, it's not necessarily a physical thing that happens. It could be a mental illness. It could be addictions. It could be that they're just emotionally disconnected. There's so many different things that could be taking place. So yeah, we just want to have a space for those that don't feel all the warm and fuzzies on Mother's Day. This is a space for those who may be triggered when they hear Happy Mother's Day, or they see the Mother's Day ads and things like that, because they don't have the same connection to their mom anymore, or never did. Oh, hey, Lisa.
Hey. Just doing all the things. Okay, what did I miss?
You have not missed much at all. I just kind of gave a brief introduction about myself, where I'm from, where I was born and raised, kind of just going over what we are going to discuss here in this dark side of the womb sesh. And I was just kind of touching a bit on mother loss. So you can take it from there if you want to introduce yourself to everyone that's here.
Yes. Hi, everybody. My name is Lisa Snyder. I am the co-founder and Chief Innovation Officer of Tokeativity. I have lost both my parents to cancer when I was in my 20s. And I work very hard on destigmatization work, which we do here at Tokeativity, just by showing up as ourselves, in hopes of supporting women's liberation, but also maybe perhaps indirectly, supporting the plant medicine movement and healing things like cancer and other illnesses through plant medicine. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is it becomes legal in these places where research can be done to further the cause. So it's been an honor and a pleasure to be part of the cannabis movement and the plant medicine movement. And I'm excited to be here and share this bridge here with Kia, and to talk about, mother loss, and in different ways, physical, emotional, spiritual, etc. So thank you.
Yeah. And, as I said before Lisa was here, this is tough. These are tough conversations that we are having. So we just want to put out there that if you are triggered around these conversations. This may not be the time for you. Maybe you want to watch this when it's recorded. Who knows? But we're going to get into it a little bit and speak our truth. So that said, let's do this.
Yes. So, Kia, why don't you go first and share a little bit about your truth?
Yeah, let's do it. So it's kind of twofold. I do have mother wounds. I touched a little bit about that before you got in here. And over the last 35 years, because I am 35, at least I guess like these 15 years or so, I've had to learn how to live with the fact that I love my mom and also she has done harm. And, you know, those two things can exist. They can coexist together. And once that clicked, it made me feel a little bit better as a human. It helped me to unlearn a lot of things, lots and lots of things, because my mom, God love her, she was a bit verbally abusive, and some things that she has said to me over the years stuck with me in a way that did not make me feel good about myself. And I have mentioned some of those things before to my mom, and she doesn't remember them at all. Like it affected me more than it affected her. And from that, it has kind of like enlightened the path of motherhood for me. I've not given birth to any children of my own, but I am a stepmom, and have been a stepmom since about 2017. And the little boy that is in my life, he has mother wounds as well, because his mother has not been there much at all. Within these last, I'd say 5 or 6 years, she spent maybe an entire year split over those 6 years worth of time with him. And so it's been difficult to see his mother wounds and see my own mother wounds be triggered with his situation as well. Yeah, and it's a little bit of everything. It's not just like a person is just terrible. There are so many different layers to it. For my mom, I know that she has multiple sclerosis, so illness was definitely a factor. For my stepkid's mom, there is mental illness that is a factor that, you know, we are all very sensitive around. But the fact remains that some things have been harmful that she has done, and then yeah, that's just the truth of it.
I'm so sorry to to hear about these particular mother wounds and how they've stuck with you, and how, you know, a lot of the voice in our head is our parents, you know, and how they spoke to us, and authority figures when we were younger. And as adults, we have to, if we choose to, do the work to not have it be the only voice in our head.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. And like unlearning is where that comes in. It's really, you know, trying to educate yourself as much as you can, surround yourself with people that uplift you and support you in your mission or whatever it is that you want to do. I think by getting away from home, because I moved from Kansas about 8 years ago, but before like moving from the state, I moved out of my mom's home. And in doing so, there was this like great unlearning process of what to do, what not to do, that like, yeah, she would have never been able to teach me, because she's just not at that level of, I don't even know what level she needs to be at, but yeah, that has definitely I don't want to say separated us, but we have grown distant because of that growth. And I've tried to get her on the train of, you know, trying to see a therapist. And there is a strong stigma in the Black community about going to seek any type of mental health help. And it's with due reason. It is because of racism, but the fact remains that it's still there. And I'm going to just talk about my mom. I don't want to talk about Black people as a whole, but like my mom specifically, she doesn't think that there's anything wrong. So there's nothing, like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it type of thing, you know? And that's really, really frustrating to try and grow into an adult and try to have an adult relationship with your mom, and this person's still stagnant. It's difficult to come to terms with that and keep moving.
Does she think she has an issue?
If she does, she has not said it out loud. There's not been an admittance of that. I could work more with an admittance than just a complete denial.
I have a very special person in my life whose mother is really disconnected from most of reality except for her own in her head, like super narcissistic, just obsessed with whatever's going on with her, and every conversation turns around into being about her, and it's very difficult. I actually have no idea how to deal with people of narcissistic personality or, you know, certain mental illnesses, and if they don't think that they have one, they're not going to seek help. You know, at least there has to be a point where someone acknowledges that for themselves, and that's really tough to be on the receiving end of and be interacting with somebody that is just not aware of themselves like that.
Oh, it's so difficult. So difficult. I have had the experience of dealing with that with the biological mom of my kid. And it's just this big question in the air of, is this person aware, or is this the illness? And like, where does the line end? And it's some stressful shit for sure. Just trying to be on the same page with everybody and make sure everyone's okay. For sure.
Yeah, I'm so sorry that you've been experiencing that too. It's like you're trying to be there for your partner and your stepson, and also on the receiving end of somebody else's weird ass energy that they're putting on you, that you then have to translate or, you know, do something about, because this is part of your world.
Yeah. But it is what it is. This is my situation. You know, someone else's situation may be far worse than mine. But I hope that in talking about it, people know that they're not alone, that mother wounds are real. And I think that the more that we openly discuss them, these wounds will heal.
Yep.
So this is why we're here.
Yes, it is bringing that into the light. I know that some people are joining us here live, and also this will be recorded for watching later. If you feel called to, you know, say something in the chat box, if any of this is resonating with you, you know, like, let us know. And if you're watching this afterwards, let us know if this resonated with you. Just shoot us an email, you know, contact us through all our things, Instagram, our website, etc. So, yeah, so it's interesting, I guess, transitioning to talking about, you know, different kinds of loss. With me and losing my mom, you know, my dad actually died the day before my 23rd birthday, and I was present for both of their transitions, and really sought out and next leveled my spirituality, my relationship with what is beyond this world after my dad died. Because when I woke up in the morning and like he like literally was there the night before, and then he wasn't there, and I was in the same room, and it was kind of traumatic, but also I felt thankful at the same time. But it was very confusing for me because I was like, he was literally here, now he's not. And I've known people who had died, but this was like very close. I mean, I'm half of my parents, you know, we all are, whoever came together literally to birth us into this world. And I started doing research on near-death experiences, and I got obsessed with this author, P.M.H. Atwater, who died 3 times and then came back each time, and ended up interviewing over 3,000 people from across the world of their near-death experiences, everything from children to adults, every different kind of background, people from different countries, different religions, etc. And a lot of the stories of them leaving this earth and going somewhere else are very, very similar. And that really opened up my mind to believing in life after death and believing that there is a lot more that we don't understand and that we don't know about what's happening in the afterlife. So I just started having a different relationship. So after my dad died, I had done mushrooms a couple times, and this one particular time I kind of did a little bit too much. But I was thankful for this moment because it really opened up my spiritual connection. And I had this, what I feel like was a visit from my dad. It felt like a warm hug. It was not physical. It was definitely spiritual conversation. Like we weren't saying anything to each other, but he told me that my mom wasn't going to be here very much longer and that I needed to spend more time with her. And so I went and I was like, okay, I need to, I'm a planner. I was like, I need to plan a party. I need to like invite my mom to my birthday party, etc. And so I did, knowing that like this might be the last birthday party that we experienced together. And in fact, it was. So, I mean, for me in celebrating my birthday. And so after my birthday party, at the end of it, she ended up leaving, going home, not feeling well, and was diagnosed with leukemia that weekend. And so when she told me that, I was like kind of half prepared, half extremely scared, you know, because I knew information that was given to me spiritually, and I didn't really know exactly what to do with that. But so I spent my time in our 8 months together. I didn't know how much time we had, but I really spent our 8 months together really consciously trying to close some open loops, you know, that were here, like that I was, you know, it's very difficult trying to like get it all done when you had all this time here on earth and you didn't say the things you wanted to say and you didn't do the things you wanted to do. However, you're still here together. So I tried to connect with her as best I could and ease her transition to whatever's after this life. But, you know, not having parents anymore, it's very much like you are parenting yourself and turning to yourself first when it comes to anything, advice, how to do things in life. I do have people in my life that I do look up to and that I do think of as parental figures or mother figures, which I definitely recommend to anybody who is seeking something, not getting something from their own mom, whether they are still here physically or not, is to seek out other people in your life who give you and fulfill that one avenue need. Maybe it's just talking to somebody older who just has been there, done that. Someone who looks to you like a daughter. And I do have a handful of women in my life that are older than me that I do seek advice from and I do look up to when I need to. And after my mom died, I started a blog, which I don't keep up with, but people still write me several times a week, losingyourparents.com and .org. Also a Facebook group and a Facebook page. And so if you have lost a parent or two, and either whether it's physically or disconnected in whatever ways, I encourage you to join my Facebook group. It's just Losing Your Parents on Facebook, and it's a lot of self-moderated conversation. If you are interested in really exploring your spirituality in regards to your parental connections, I'd be very interested to connect with you. I try to keep my relationship alive in a lot of different ways. A lot of times I simply just close my eyes and ask for advice. I just tell me what to do, tell me where to go, you know, and you know, Tokeativity has been one of these voices in the head that's like, keep going, keep doing your thing, you know? And so I just keep doing it. So I have a lot of tips and tricks about how to stay connected to your parents after death. And if you are interested in talking more about that, you know, feel free to reach out. If you don't feel comfortable right now, you can definitely I'm Lisa Libra on Instagram, or you can email me, lisa@tokeativity.com.
I love it. Yeah, I would love to keep in touch with my grandmother who passed away 2 years ago. That's I think the first time that someone in my family had passed that well, I mean, we weren't super close, but like my grandma was my first home. That was my maternal grandma. And your grandmother, anyone here, your maternal grandmother is your very first home, because all women have all of their eggs developed. So when they're pregnant and they have a girl, that little girl has all of their eggs developed too. So your first home is your maternal grandmother. And something different happened. The energy felt different after she passed, and I can't put my finger on it and I can't explain it. But I think that's what it is. It's the first home no longer existing on this plane. So I would love to keep in touch with her any way that I possibly can. So I'll be in touch with you myself.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, this is something that like, I actually thought, this is pre-Tokeativity days, that I would really be focusing a lot of my energy in my life on connecting with people who have lost parents and helping them to connect with themselves and move forward in their life. Because I do know that like, one of the things that's most challenging is grief is such a weird feeling. And it's a roller coaster ride of all kinds of different feelings. And you never know when they're coming. And you never know when you're going to suddenly feel incredibly sad or really missing them or angry, you know? And I really feel like if we can feel our feelings all the way to completion, we can move on. And a lot of times we don't allow ourselves to feel all our feelings through completion. We kind of are like, oh, it's feeling stuff. And then we're like, shh, you can't feel that right now because you gotta blah, 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 whatever it is, you know? And we don't allow ourselves any space to really, truly feel sad, you know? And I tried to, as much as I can, like when I feel like it, I don't cry a lot, but like if it feels time to do that, like letting it out, you know? And don't we always feel better after crying? We're like, don't want to cry. And then we're crying. We're like, oh, this is horrible. And then you're like, oh, I just feel so much better. And it's like, it's the release. It's the energetic release of the feelings that we've been feeling and holding in inside. And animals are so good at shaking it off, you know? They're like, just like, okay, moving on, you know? And we don't do that. We don't do that as often. But if we did, it'd be a totally different story.
I know, imagine what we could do if we felt our feelings to completion and moved to the next thing.
Yeah. I see here in the live chat box, Devin says, thank you for sharing. My husband and sister-in-law talked to me and discussed those things because both their parents have passed at early ages in their life. Cannabis has been a huge help from what I hear. That's great. And thanks, Bevan. Yes. And there is a parent loss community. It's a lot of it running itself mostly, but yeah, I'm curious how y'all who are here live, you know, do you stay connected to people who have passed? And also, are you having any challenges with people who are still here? You know, like people who you'd love to have a relationship with that is totally different and you just can't get there.
Mm-hmm. And if you have any mother wounds, how do they show up in your life? How have you noticed them take over your life? Would love to know.
I guess like crossing back to what you were saying about and what we were talking about earlier with the voice in the head, and there's so much work that we can do for that voice in the head, you know, that it's just a voice. It's not who you are, and it's not it's just mind chatter. And knowing the difference between that, I think, is really where the work is like becoming present and knowing that it's just somebody else saying something, but it is very weird how much it is ingrained into us. And if you have anybody who've ever said anything like, you know, like your mother said to you, it's very much ingrained in there. And you know, it's amazing sometimes how far we can go in our lives, you know, with having that be thing. I think that there's folks out there that have never done the work, have never tried to do it. And if they just did a little bit of mama work or daddy work, you know, up here, it would be a totally different story.
Yeah, it would. But like, I guess, like, do they know that they have, not have to, but do they know that they need to do that work, I guess? Like, what's the...
How do you call attention to that?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Patrice says, I was just recently told that I need to grieve my mother who is still alive. It's a crazy feeling.
Yeah, I have done the grieving of my own mother who is alive, but it's not a grieving of her passing, it's a grieving of what I was hoping could be. Yeah, like it's a grieving of that, a grieving of how you thought it could be when you were an adult, how you wanted it to be. Because what you want is not necessarily what you get with your parents. And that was really difficult to see all of my other friends with their, you know, having this beautiful relationship with their mom. Their mom's their bestie. You know, they do everything together. They can't go a day without talking to each other. And I'm like, shit, I can go months without talking to my mom, and it's actually good for my sanity. You know, it's just a very different experience. And for a long time, I thought I was alone, but not. There's some toxic moms out there, unfortunately.
I can relate to really like hearing other people being like, oh my God, me and my mom did this, me and my mom did that, we're so close, all this stuff. And then when my mom was alive, that's really all I wanted was closeness, but it was so difficult to achieve because she was, you know, closed off. And I don't know, I was really probably the saddest about that, of like getting to the end of her life and we just couldn't get there whatever I wanted, which was closeness, which was the ability to just talk about anything. And it just also, I had to recognize that she did not have the tools or resources. She did the best she could with the tools and resources she had available at the time of her parenting me. And I was just talking about this with my wife last night, of just like how we are just thankful we were like alive and that we got the opportunity to be in good homes and that we were fed and we were clothed, and we, like, our parents for the most part really did what they could to, you know, give us a good life, you know, and we're here to tell the tale. And, you know, Kiara says she hasn't spoken to her mom in over a year because it was always toxic. Yeah, like this is part of our reality, right? Is that not every relationship, in fact, a lot of relationships are toxic, and it takes us moving across the country or, you know, being away from that environment to heal ourselves and to work on ourselves, and to not have that person not just chattering in your mind, but like literally chattering at you in regular life.
Yeah. Oh man, I have to share this. It's not an anecdote, but it's a true story that happened with my mom last year when I saw her in the airport just briefly. She met my stepson Odin, and Odin has long hair. And like the first thing she said was, "Oh, you look like a girl," and I was like, "Whoa, let's cut that out. We're not doing that. Like, just a person. Like, let's just look at it's a child. Like, we don't need to like start putting gender roles and things on them." And then I think she said something even more offensive after that, and I was just like, "Okay, this is gonna be a long fucking day," you know. And it's a cultural thing. She grew up. You know, my mom is almost in her 70s now. She grew up in Baltimore, and it's a cultural clash as well as trauma. And then with me, like I've unlearned that trauma and trying not to like be re-traumatized by her. It's so many fucking layers.
So many layers. And yeah, I mean, it's up to us to really do the work. So we're not carrying around those burdens, right? But it's like, how do you do the work, you know? And I'm curious how what do you do for yourself when you are like, I don't know, you feel like that need to take care of yourself, work on your mother wounds. What do you do for yourself?
It's a good question. Thank you for asking. My mother wounds tend to really be triggered, not even really around Mother's Day. It's the holidays. It's probably right before, like my birthday's October 14th, yours is the 15th. And then the rest of that year, it's just, all right, this is going to be a shit show come the rain here in Portland. So I tend to kind of isolate myself. I'll just take myself out of the picture. I'll watch movies that soothe me. I'll listen to sounds that soothe me. I just try to nurture inner me, instead of putting myself in a situation where I'm just going to be re-traumatized. And luckily, like with my partner, he understands this. And so like right around the holidays, like there's the communication of like, look, it's happening. I'm starting to feel that triggering. I'm going to be a little weird and erratic. I just want you to know that, so you know it's not you or anything that you've done. And having that open line of communication about our own traumas has helped us to feel things to completion.
That's amazing that you have that kind of open communication with your partner, I think, and awareness, self-awareness about what you know you need. That's the best thing we could possibly do for the other people in our life and for ourselves, is to recognize as quickly as possible, like, okay, I think I need some alone time. I think I need to go for a walk. I think I need to eat something. I think I'm dehydrated, whatever, insert things here. And then communicating that, like, hey, I just want to let you know that I'm just not feeling great and it's not you. And that really takes the pressure off of the person on the other side wondering if it's them. Because 9 times out of 10, when we're in a relationship with anybody, if they're acting weird, sometimes we're like, what's going on? Did I do something? You know, especially women, we think that way a lot. And it's really takes the pressure off of like them worrying about that, so that they can focus on being a support to you, being available to you, however we need. So yeah, I just got distracted a little bit, just like Lucid from UK being like, Lisa.
Yes, but I want to turn that question around to you. What do you do when either it's a mother wound or just the loss and the grief are starting to overcome you? How do you take care of yourself?
Yes. This is interesting because I feel like, because I've really tried to dig in, that I'm not as triggered around things like Mother's Day, you know, like I used to be, where I didn't want to hear anything on the radio. I didn't want to see anything on TV about Mother's Day. I just like, it just was a reminder my mom's not here, and then everyone's having a fucking fun ass time together with their moms, but I'm not. And that just like made me feel sad. But I feel like I can handle it now, and I don't feel as triggered as much with like, oh, I have to turn it off. I mean, sometimes I still feel like the way. I just don't want to hear it. I just, and it's a choice, you know? So it's kind of like deciding to do that, those kind of things. I often will think about ahead of time which moms I do want to reach out to, and get that support. And I'm talking about specifically Mother's Day because it is tomorrow, and this is a triggering holiday for a lot of people who have lost their moms or don't have a good relationship with their mom. And so I think about, what moms do I have a good relationship with? How can I celebrate them? How can I focus energy on them? You know, as a dog mom and somebody who's making a conscious choice to not have children, I'm looking forward to having a fun day with my wife when she gets off of work, and like we'll go do something special for ourselves and celebrate us and be together. I also have done a couple things. I'm a big fan of talking to your phone, like just kind of talking through feelings, like just literally saying whatever. You don't even need another person on the other side of it, nor do you ever need to play it ever again if you don't want to. But processing feelings that don't make any sense is very helpful for you to process the feelings, because we feel stuff, but we've never put words to it, you know? So when it comes out of your mouth, you're like, oh, that's the feeling, you know? We have to grab at something like sadness or grief or whatever, but it's like, it's very complicated inside, but as long as we can start to attach some words to it, we can start to process it. So audio recordings are also very helpful for me. Sometimes writing, although I can't go fast enough, you know, I'm just like, oh, I can't go fast enough. And also just feeling feelings, just like I said, feeling feelings all the way through to the other side. Which does mean getting really uncomfortable. And a lot of people don't want to be uncomfortable, which is why they don't feel stuff. But I learned through this book, which I highly recommend, called the Sedona Method. It's about processing feelings, and that feelings are like this layered system of like plates in a lunchroom. And first, there's always a layer of feelings that if you just acknowledge it, there's always something underneath, and there's something underneath, and there's something underneath. So when you're mad at somebody, for an example, and you're like, I'm feeling, and there's a process you can talk yourself through. I'm feeling upset with so-and-so, and questioning if that feeling of upsetness is coming from a place of wanting to be connected to them or to yourself or to others, and where is that feeling coming from, you know? Excuse me. And once you get to that next layer, it's like, okay, I'm feeling like I want to be connected, and is that feeling coming from a certain place? So it's really interesting. I don't remember all the steps and stuff, but I try to kind of go through it energetically quickly to be like, where is this feeling coming from? And normally it's from a feeling of wanting to be connected, you know, and we all want to be connected to ourselves and to one another. And when we're not, when we're feeling disconnected, it can really cause a lot of pain. And it can be confusing because you can be mad at somebody for something when really you're like, I just wanted to be close.
Yeah. I know it all too well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So talking myself through the feelings and thoughts, especially if I don't want to put it on anybody, because I think sometimes we think it's a burden to be like sharing our feelings with other people, and especially if they're heavy or grief related, and not everybody knows how to deal with grief either. Mm-hmm. They have a lot of things to say about it. They're like, oh, you should do this, or you should get over it, or whatever. They've got all these things to say. And 9 times out of 10, it's not very helpful. And as Sam said earlier, it's more about listening, mm-hmm. you know? But if you don't feel comfortable talking to somebody, I like to talk to myself. Self-parenting.
Shit, I talk to myself a lot. I feel crazy sometimes. Like my partner will walk in and I'm like mid-sentence, like, hey.
Hey, we're just talking to myself.
We're just sitting here talking. I think it's cathartic to just
yes,
get it out of your head at least.
Yeah, totally. And with the audio recordings too, you can listen back to them. And sometimes I will literally talk to it, and then I'm on a walk and I'll listen back, and you hear it differently from a different perspective, as if a friend was talking to you. And you can also hear, you know, new information that you didn't hear before when you were even talking. You
mm-hmm.
know,
hear something in the inflection or something. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then you can kind of, if you want to, save it for later as if it were like an audio journal, and reflect back in like a month, like, wow, I was there and that's how I got through that. And because I think sometimes we forget how to get ourselves through something. You know, we got ourselves through this other crazy shit that happened, and now we've got this crazy shit that happened. How did I do that before? What did I do? I got to start over. Not necessarily. You know, if you have your toolkit, which I really like having a toolkit, and I recommend creating one, and that can just be some simple things like writing and audio recordings and people you can talk to and trust. You know, I think talking to people who can relate with you, mm-hmm. You know, who have had the same issues with their moms, and can be like, yeah, me too. I totally understand. And you can process with them. Or like if you've had loss, you know, talking to somebody who has also experienced loss can be just so therapeutic. Kiara says pets are also amazing listeners.
It's true. It's so true. My cat listens to a lot of shit. It's just
yes. So we're at the end of our time here, and that went so quickly. And thank you, Kia, for wanting to do this together. I really appreciate the conversation and being able to hold space for one another. And for anybody who's listening now or later, please feel free to reach out. You know, if you want to talk about parent loss, come join my Facebook group, Losing Your Parents, and you know, continue coming to Tokeativity because we love you so much.
We really do. We really do. It was great to be able to hold space, especially the day before Mother's Day. I know, like, I try to like hold that space on my Instagram whenever I'm active on it. Just an acknowledgement of this day is not great for everybody. Let's be aware of that and how we celebrate. But it's so much nicer to have this platform to be able to hold space for those live, honestly, that may be really going through it. You're not alone, and you can get your own toolkit to help you through these times as well. And yeah, you can find some people that are just like you here.
Yes. You'll find your people here for sure. If you haven't yet, you will. Devin says this helps to not feel alone. Absolutely. You're not alone. And thank you so much for joining us. And we'll see you in some of the other sessions.
All right. Bye.
Bye.